Welcome to Solutions for Your Life. I'm Sharon Gamble, and we're here today to talk about prescribed fire and wildfire and why it's important to you. First of all, economically, wildfire costs the taxpayer a tremendous amount of money nationally and locally whenever we have to fight fire, as opposed to the use of prescribed fire, which is much more cost-effective on dollars spent, and it greatly enhances the ecosystems in our surrounding area. We're currently standing in southeastern Volusia County, not very far from the urban population, although you wouldn't know it by looking around me. We are out today in what we call a natural regeneration type forest. That is, this meaning that these pine trees were not planted here, they were naturally occurring. We're looking at an area that was burned a year ago as opposed to an area that was burned 2 years ago. And one of the things that you're going to notice is it's hard on camera, I understand, but the vegetation here is much thinner and shorter than the 2-year stand. What you may not understand is that Florida evolved under a regime of fire. That is, for 12,000 years, lightning and created fires, and the vegetation that survived because of those fires. And all these plant species are adapted to the fire. So while you might think that fire is really a bad thing, we actually know now that fire is a good thing, and it's as normal as rain and sunshine and air. We're learning we have to put fire back into our landscapes. Starting about 1930, went through a process where we were trying to eliminate fire. And what we really did is we didn't eliminate fire. The fires got bigger and they got hotter and they got more destructive. So as prescribed fire practitioners in the state, we use a special set of parameters. It's very scientific, trying to control the effects of the fire, the direction of the fire, the intensity of the fire, so that we can mimic the natural role of fire in our landscape. And with that, it really supports a whole entire ecosystem, and the ecosystem revolves around the fire. So by burning off the vegetation, we're actually creating food supply for turkeys, deer, gopher tortoises, all sorts of wildlife that you don't necessarily think of. And when we have areas that we've excluded fire, that becomes a wasteland and it's devoid of wildlife. So actually fire is a way to help maintain our ecosystems and restore the natural beauty of Florida. Well, we're currently out in Longleaf Pine Preserve, and we are in an area where a wildfire rolled through here, and you can see the damage that you get with a wildfire as opposed to what we try to accomplish with prescribed fire. If you'll look at the dead trees, you'll see the black scarring or charcoal going up the trees. That's indicative of your flame length. It tells you how hot the fire has been. But this is a major disturbance when you have a wildfire because the situation's not controlled and so much damage is caused in the native environment. As a homeowner, the reason this is important to know is because it's helping to protect your home from the impacts of wildfire. Prescribed fire is not wildfire. Prescribed fire is a skilled application of fire to manage fuel loads and ecosystems while helping to ensure the safety of your home. When we use prescribed fire, we're actually managing the vegetation. In the prescribed fire world, we call this fuels, and the fuels will build up over time. And so by using prescribed fire, we're keeping the fuels burnt down to a lower level, so the intensity and severity of fires is not as much. Now, back in the '98 fire season, we had a tremendous buildup of fuels. What had really happened is fire got into the crowns or the tops of the trees, and you can't fight fire when it's in the crowns and the tops of the trees, and it just carried with the wind and was going into the edges of housing areas. Forestry and various entities really worked hard to try and maintain and keep the fire back, but if we don't manage these fires and we allow them to get intense, they could be in your backyard. Our Master Gardener program will continue to provide tips that you can utilize in your landscaping and around your house to help protect you and your family and your property and belongings. I'm Sharon Gamble with Solutions for Your Life.